Well, good evening and welcome to Random Access. We're here in the KMVT studios here in Mountain View, talking to a Mountain View company. I have Ching Yu Hu and Ollie Guinan from Skybox Imaging, a company that's been in business for about 5 years. Okay. And your business is satellite imaging.
That's correct.
Now, satellite imaging is something that's certainly been around for a long time, but you have a new wrinkle that we're going to talk about. But first of all, let's look at how the company got started. You are one of 4 founders, as I understand it. How did the company come to be founded?
Yeah, so...
Whose idea?
I know. It was started 5 years ago as part of a graduate entrepreneurship class at Stanford University.
Okay.
And it's Dan Birkenstock, Julian Mann, John Fennick, and myself were the 4 founders.
Okay.
The 3 of them already knew each other before I met them. They were working on the Google Learner X Prize before they took the Stanford class.
So how did you come to join the team?
So I joined the team about 4 years ago. Essentially when I joined, we had a satellite design on paper. Everything looked good on whiteboards. And we needed a story about what we were going to be able to do with the data coming back from the satellite. So I actually knew Dan, one of the co-founders. Our wives worked together actually at Google. So I'd been hearing the Skybox story for a couple of years, and it seemed like an opportunity to change the world.
Let's stop there. Let's look at the Skybox concept, which is a constellation of orbiting satellites. And we have a motion video here. Now this shows that the satellites orbiting the Earth, they're polar orbits. You have a whole constellation. What's the latency to get an image?
Yeah, so it takes about 90 minutes for the satellite to travel around the entire Earth. It travels about 7 kilometers a second, so it's pretty fast.
But meanwhile, the Earth has moved. In order to come around and image the same spot with the next available satellite, how long does that take?
Right, so with a single satellite, it'll take about once every 3 days to be right over that same spot again.
Okay, and with a full constellation?
If you keep doubling and cutting the time in half, so with a constellation of 24 satellites, which I think is what's on the video right here.
Okay.
You see everywhere in the world once
here, we have the same thing being replayed, but it shows a yellow beam which shows where the satellite is pointed. And as the satellite moves, you're able to use reaction wheels. I believe these devices down here.
Correct.
In order to move the satellite in real time so it looks at the same place.
Right.
And how long is the video you're able to capture?
So we can stare at a single spot for 80 seconds.
80, 90? Okay. And the aspect keeps changing.
The aspect changes as we move over the top, yeah.
Fascinating. And this is a new capability, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the world's first commercial HD high-res video from space.
Okay. Very good. Now, your company is not the only one in this space. Originally, it was the military that pioneered all of this hardware, and then the civilian hardware moved in the form of communication satellites parked in geosynchronous orbits. And so they had tremendous budgets comparable to what the military budgets were. But now we're looking at budgets that are much smaller. What are you doing that makes the difference?
Yeah, so what we're doing is really helping global businesses make better decisions by providing a service that has very timely, very frequent, high-resolution imagery and analytics of the world. And the way that we're doing that is by combining this constellation of high-resolution imaging satellites combined with a data platform to efficiently process, store, and distribute not just the data that comes off the satellites, but as well as the analytics derived from them.
That's a very long and complex sentence. Who writes your material?
We're doing big data from space.
Okay. That summarizes it nicely. I'm going to go to a slide of your satellite one in the clean room. This was a very emotional moment, wasn't it? To see actual hardware and know that this was going to go into space?
Very much so.
Okay. How would you describe your emotion? I mean, were you elated or a little scared?
I think we were just extremely proud of the team that we put together. This is probably a couple months before we launched. We knew what the satellite was theoretically capable of.
Okay.
which was to get nearly the same resolution as a traditional imaging satellite that costs several $100 million, and we were able to build it for less than 20.
Less than 20 million, and that includes the R&D?
Just the cost to launch.
The cost to launch.
Cost to
okay.
launch.
Well, that's practically within my MasterCard limit.
Yeah.
Let's look at the launch sequence. I think we should do that. I mean, talk about emotional moments for the team. Let's see that.
These are all
So this is in Baikonur,
satellites,
Russia, which is, I'm sorry, this is in Yasny, Russia, which is where we actually launched the satellite from.
Okay.
This is an active nuclear missile
There's
base.
the integration facility.
So that's Dubai Sat 2 is the other satellite in the picture there.
All right.
It's a lot of the team that built the satellite, built the control system, and are flying the satellite.
Cosmos has just confirmed the initiation of the launch sequence. It's given the final approval to shift over to internal sequence, and we have launch. The network is cleared to cycle. The first stage is activated. First stage is performing nominally. The vehicle appears to be on a nominal trajectory. Gas atom shield confirms separation. SkySat 1 confirms separation.
Avionics voice check.
Avionics, loud and clear.
Power voice check.
Okay.
Comms voice check.
So there are actually two emotional
Flight
moments,
software
weren't
voice
there?
check.
We saw the one where
VT15
you
GNC.
GNC loud and
attained
clear.
orbit, and the next one is yet to come.
Signal.
This is
And
the,
now we have the
telemetry.
downlink.
right,
And
the first contact to SkySat 1.
okay, and yes, the first image. That must have been a fantastic moment. They have a big party afterward.
No,
No, they all went home.
no, we only celebrated after we got the first image from SkySat 1, which was our true first milestone for this project.
I see. Okay. Let's look at some of these stills. Now, the first one that I have up here is something that would be near and dear to all Californians. This is a beach town. It happens to be in Shenzhen, China. Is there anything remarkable about this, or was this just chosen because it's picturesque and not at all close to where we are?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's striking about this image is the color out of this image. The multispectral and the color quality that we're getting out of SkySat 1 is exceeding our expectations.
Okay.
And that's due to the proprietary technology we put together.
Now, you say proprietary technology. It's my understanding that some of the components and so forth were taken, say, from things intended for cell phones. Okay, can you tell us much about that?
Yeah. The cameras are 2D staring sensors, which is a new type of technology being used on our satellites. Traditional imaging satellites use line scanners.
Okay.
And with the 2D staring sensor, we are able to capture these different bands.
So you're saying a traditional satellite is more like a scanner on a personal computer where you have a bar that moves?
Right, it's almost like a
Where
copy
here,
machine.
This is more like a true video camera. You
Right.
have a 2D array, and you take the whole picture at once.
It's more like how your iPhone HDR works
There
in
you
space.
go. And I understand you're using a version of the Chrome browser to do your viewing and so forth. So basically, you've piggybacked on every commercial technology that would fit as a way of keeping costs down and development time short.
Exactly. So traditional aerospace, you're building one-off components for one mission.
Yes.
It's incredibly expensive. If you can piggyback on the commercial world.
Well, there's the Silicon Valley story.
Right.
Okay, let's look at the next slide. Here we have some pivot irrigation in Saudi Arabia. What can you tell me about this?
So this particular image, as you mentioned, it's pivot irrigation in the middle of a desert, which gives it this very dramatic view. So this area is red right here because we've done some analysis on the image to determine the quality of the vegetation in the image. So we use the red light and the near infrared light and compared the amount of light absorbed versus reflected by plant material
Okay.
to create this image. So the brighter red the image, the more healthy the plant is, and the less red, the less healthy. So you can see in the pivot irrigation section, there are areas of poor vegetation right in the middle there.
Well, the resolution is excellent. Next, let's take another image here, which is using the near-infrared. This, I understand, is a gold mine in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us why a gold mine would be interested in satellite imaging.
Yeah. The mining industry uses satellite imagery quite a bit, and it's because it's a continual construction project.
Okay.
And you need imagery when you're evaluating new places to mine. You need it during operations. You need it for safety and even post-reclamation.
I think you're implicitly telling me that the ability to provide imagery every few hours or the moving imagery itself has value that they can put to work.
Yeah, there's two elements to that. The timeliness enables them to better see what's going on with their project. And then the second piece is the near-infrared on our satellite, which enables them to look at the vegetation analysis around their mine, to understand the habitats and the like.
Well, now, I'm looking at the strong shadowing here, and visually it's striking, but isn't there information that you can extract from that as well?
Yeah.
So yeah, certainly from the shadow, because we know where the camera is and the sun is, we can tell how deep an area is based on that shadow.
Okay, so you can get distance information.
Correct.
Geometrical information.
Correct.
Okay, that sounds like an important capability. Now, we looked at the orbiting constellation, and we looked at the staring satellite. Let's look at some staring images. Okay, here is a refinery in Saudi Arabia. Here is a close-up of a tank farm, and this was taken on January 11th. On January 12th, you came around and took an image of the same thing. If we look at the tanks in the bottom, okay, concentrating on those, let's go back to the previous slide and look at the lids of the tanks. They're floating. Okay, let's go back to the 12th. And we can see that the level of those lids is changing. Let's go back again. And forward again. You can definitely see those changing. And so, from what you're telling me, we can use the shadows to determine the change in the volume of product that's in the tanks.
Exactly.
All right, so there's competitive information.
And that's just such a key insight into basically every piece of industry that uses oil.
Right.
Okay, so it's obvious to me where part of your customer base would be.
Yeah.
So where do you see this technology going?
Yeah, so in the long term, we really see ourselves building an analytics data stream that helps these businesses change the way that they do business.
Okay, and so to wrap up, you're saying that one of the new areas that you're helping to pioneer is besides just selling images, you're going to be extracting information, and perhaps the customer will be more interested in the report that you generate than the actual video.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's excellent. I appreciate you being here this evening. Hopefully, you can come back to Random Access sometime, and we'll learn some more. But for this evening's program, we are done, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Warren.